Welcome to Deep World Updates. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. Sabah standoff Manila and Kuala Lumpur on a collision course as naval patrols intensify. The humid morning air hangs heavy over the Sulu Sea, thick with salt and unspoken tension. A Philippine Navy patrol vessel, the BRP Andres Bonifacio, cuts through the calm turquoise waters, its crew on high alert. On the horizon, a Royal Malaysian Navy corvette emerges, maintaining a professional but wary distance. This is the new normal in the waters between the southern Philippines and Sabah. A single miscalculation could ignite a conflict that has simmered for generations. The dispute, once dormant, is now inflamed by rising nationalism and great power rivalry in the South China Sea. President Marcos Jr. has reasserted the Philippines' claim to Sabah, met by Malaysia's firm rejection. Diplomatic niceties are fading, replaced by hardened resolve on both sides. For Manila, the Sabah claim is now part of a broader strategy to assert sovereignty, emboldened by U.S. support. For Malaysia, it's a challenge that cannot be ignored, forcing a defensive recalibration. The stakes are high, a direct conflict would shatter ASEAN unity and invite external interference. The standoff in the Sulu Sea is more than a territorial dispute, it's a test of regional stability and ASEAN's future. The roots of the Sabah dispute are buried deep in colonial-era agreements and the legacy of the Sultanate of Sulu. The Philippine claim hinges on an 1878 agreement, which Manila says was a lease, not a cession. Malaysia, inheriting the territory from the British, insists it was a permanent handover. Annual cession payments to the Sultan's descendants add ambiguity. For decades, the issue was sidelined in favor of economic cooperation and ASEAN unity. Now, nationalist sentiment and political pressure have thrust it back into the spotlight. President Marcos Jr. has vowed to defend every inch of Philippine territory. Malaysia, meanwhile, views the claim as settled and disruptive, integrating Sabah more deeply into the federation. Both sides are locked into narratives shaped by history and domestic politics. Diplomatic solutions remain elusive as each government feels compelled to stand firm. The shadow of the Sultanate of Sulu continues to haunt modern geopolitics. The Sabah dispute is inseparable from the wider South China Sea drama. Both nations face Chinese assertiveness, but their responses diverge. The Philippines, shaped by years of Chinese harassment, now applies assertive strategies to Sabah. Manila's confrontational stance toward Kuala Lumpur is a spillover from its West Philippine Sea doctrine. Malaysia prefers quiet diplomacy, balancing economic ties with China and modernizing its navy discreetly. The Sabah dispute forces Malaysia to divert resources from the South China Sea, creating vulnerabilities. Any conflict between ASEAN members benefits Beijing, weakening regional unity. The US-China rivalry complicates matters. Manila's alliance with Washington emboldens its position while Malaysia seeks neutrality. The dispute threatens to force Malaysia into difficult strategic choices. The South China Sea, once a source of shared concern, now highlights their diverging paths. The bilateral drama is set against a crowded, volatile regional stage, the risk a local dispute spiraling into a wider strategic crisis. The Philippines and Malaysia have adopted sharply different strategic doctrines. The Philippines, under Marcos Jr., champions assertive transparency, publicizing every perceived encroachment and rallying international support. This high-visibility approach is a break from the past, relying on alliances and media to shape the narrative. Malaysia, in contrast, prefers quiet diplomacy and strategic hedging, handling disputes discreetly while building defense capabilities. Kuala Lumpur's philosophy: we do not shout from the rooftops, we build our fences quietly. The Philippines leans heavily on its U.S. alliance, seeing it as a deterrent and force multiplier. Malaysia avoids deep alliances, opting for self-reliance and diversified partnerships. Its procurement strategy spans multiple countries, preserving autonomy, but limiting crisis support. The Philippines' alliance-driven assertiveness contrasts with Malaysia's independent resilience. These divergent paths define the central tension in the Sabah dispute. Each strategy has strengths and vulnerabilities, shaping how both nations prepare for potential conflict. The question: which approach will prevail if tensions boil over? The 2025 defense budgets of the Philippines and Malaysia reveal their ambitions and constraints. The Philippines has boosted spending to $5.8 billion, aiming to modernize its military and shift focus to external defense. Yet much of the budget is consumed by personnel costs, leaving less for new acquisitions. Malaysia's $4.5 billion budget supports a more technologically advanced, consistently procured force. Both nations prioritize maritime and air capabilities but face fiscal and bureaucratic hurdles. The Philippines invests in anti-ship missiles and radar, but struggles with procurement delays and corruption. Malaysia emphasizes sustainability and phased acquisitions, but underfunding hampers readiness. Both face a hollow force dilemma, impressive platforms on paper, but operational challenges in reality. Strategic ambitions are tested by limited resources and execution gaps. The budget race is as much about overcoming internal obstacles as deterring external threats. The Philippine Army, with 130,000 personnel, is battle-hardened from decades of counterinsurgency, but lacks heavy armor and modern artillery. Its doctrine is geared toward internal threats, not conventional warfare. The Malaysian army, smaller at 80,000, is better equipped for state-on-state conflict, with modern tanks and armored vehicles. Its focus is on defending the Malay Peninsula and Borneo, with training aligned to combined arms operations. In a Sabah conflict, the Philippines would face daunting amphibious and logistical challenges. The Philippine Marine Corps is skilled but too small for large-scale operations without sea and air superiority. Malaysia's advantage lies in its defensive position, robust logistics, and familiarity with Sabah's terrain. Rapid reinforcement from the peninsula would strain Malaysia's lift capabilities, but its home field advantage is significant. As one analyst notes, the Philippines may have the numbers, but Malaysia has the heavier equipment and the ground. Any ground conflict in Sabah would be bloody and protracted for both sides. Naval and air power are decisive in the Sabah equation. The Philippine Navy is modernizing with Jose Rizal-class frigates and new acquisitions planned, but lacks submarines and robust anti-submarine capabilities. The Royal Malaysian Navy boasts Scorpene-class submarines and modern frigates, giving it an undersea edge. Malaysia's multi-dimensional fleet and experience provide a qualitative advantage in the Sulu Sea. In the air, the Philippines has Fa-50PH jets and growing transport capacity but lacks true multi-role fighters. Malaysia fields Su-30 MKM and F/A-18D Hornets with advanced missiles and air superiority. Malaysian air power could control Sabah's skies in a conflict. The Philippines is closing the gap, but Malaysia still holds the upper hand at sea and in the air. Control of these domains would be critical in any confrontation. The current balance favors Malaysia, a key factor in strategic calculations. The Philippines and Malaysia are divided by their approaches to international partnerships. The Philippines centers its defense on the U.S. alliance, relying on the Mutual Defense Treaty for deterrence and support. This provides access to intelligence, joint exercises, and a security umbrella, but with ambiguity over U.S. support for Sabah. Over-reliance on the alliance risks strategic miscalculation and limits flexibility. Malaysia champions strategic autonomy, relying on self-reliance and a diverse network of partners. Its consultative security arrangements avoid entanglement in great power rivalries. The drawback: no hard security guarantee in a crisis, forcing caution and self-sufficiency. This divide, Philippine alliance-based assertiveness versus Malaysian independence, shapes their responses to the Sabah dispute. The region's future may hinge on which philosophy proves more resilient. The Sabah standoff is a real-world test of these competing strategies. The Sabah dispute forces Southeast Asia to confront hard questions about power and security. Is Manila's assertiveness a bold stand or a reckless gamble? Is Malaysia's caution wisdom or passivity? Both nations are modernizing, but budgets and bureaucracy limit real capability. The Philippines' ambitions are hampered by inefficiency, Malaysia's by underfunding for readiness. True power lies in logistics, training, and execution, not just new hardware. The nation that best translates strategy into sustainable military power will hold the advantage. The Sabah standoff is a symptom of shifting regional dynamics and rising nationalism. The choices made now in Manila and Kuala Lumpur could reshape Southeast Asia's geopolitical map for decades.